The amazing career of Kimi Raikkonen's time in Formula One has always been something to discuss in the F1 community, especially since he's now retired. Having driven for teams like Sauber, McLaren, Lotus Renault, and of course, Ferrari, Raikkonen always found a way to make his equipment work en route to good finishes, podiums, and race wins. Thus, he is currently, at the time of this recording, the latest Ferrari World Champion, which dates all the way back nearly 15 years ago in 2007. However, before we go more in detail on his 2007 season, there are a few key factors that must be brought up. In 2003 and 2005, driving for McLaren in both years, Raikkonen had a shot at the title but lost out on both occasions. Michael Schumacher in 2003 and Fernando Alonso in 2005. In 2004 and 2006, he wasn't even close to a championship. In 2004, he ranked P7 in the standings with just 4 podiums and a win at Spa. 2006 was slightly better despite going winless, but still managed to get podium finishes on 6 occasions, favoring 5th in the final standings. Late in the 2006 season, it was announced that Michael Schumacher would step down from driving and retire from the sport. As you'd probably guess by now, Raikkonen was the guy to replace Schumacher going into 2007, and this raised a lot of eyebrows, given that Raikkonen was getting a huge step forward in his F1 career at this point, driving for the infamous Scuderia Ferrari team. And his first year in red most certainly did not disappoint. In the first race of the season in Melbourne, Raikkonen led for a vast majority of the Australian Grand Prix, leading 53 of the 58 laps en route to his 10th career win, and the first with Ferrari. On the podium with him were 2 others who would challenge him for the title all throughout the season, as both McLaren drivers of 2-time and defending champion Fernando Alonso and hotshot rookie Lewis Hamilton finished 2nd and 3rd, respectively. In Malaysia, Raikkonen ranked P3 on the podium behind the McLaren drivers, which gave him 6 points in the standings, 2 points behind race winner Fernando Alonso. Raikkonen scored another 3rd place finish, once again earning 6 points at the conclusion of the Bahrain Grand Prix, to which his teammate Felipe Massa won with ease. So heading into the next race with that being said, Raikkonen found himself tied in the points with Alonso and Hamilton, already making it a very close and tight championship battle this early in the season. In the Spanish Grand Prix, it turned out to be the first retirement of the season for Kimi, following suspension issues setting him back early in the going. At least the good news for Ferrari was that Massa once again won with ease, keeping the McLarens at bay to secure career win number 4. And then, in Monaco, a track that's very, very difficult to overtake, Raikkonen started P16 on the grid, following a crash coming out of the swimming pool section during qualifying time trials. But in the race itself, he somehow managed to work his way through the pack and finish inside the points, with an 8th place finish. Even so, he's now in 4th in the standings behind Massa and 15 points behind Alonso and Hamilton. Next up on the calendar was Canada, the very same race where it was Lewis Hamilton's maiden win. But as for Raikkonen, you may ask, it was a 5th place finish for the Finnish driver and scored 4 points in the process. Indianapolis was next for what would be sadly the very last time Formula One hosted the US Grand Prix at the historic Indianapolis Motor Speedway. Kimi, on the other hand, started 4th and finished 4th, and got the fastest lap. Then came the French Grand Prix in Manicourt, where the Ferraris drugged the field. Raikkonen led for 30 laps, while Massa led for 40 laps. Both finished first and second respectively, with Raikkonen taking top honors. He again pulled off another dominant performance in the very next race at the British Grand Prix, leading 24 of the 59 laps at Silverstone, while also clocking in the fastest lap of the race and securing the win. And as a bonus, he was back in contention to attack the McLarens, moving up to third in the championship standings, 6 points behind Alonso and 18 points behind Hamilton. Raikkonen would soon dip back into fourth in the championship standings though, after the conclusion of the European Grand Prix at the Nürburgring. Granted, he did score a pole position, but a mistake coming into the pits on the opening lap to change to wet tires cost him dear. And to make matters worse, hydraulics failure really did him in, forcing him to retire for the second time in 2007. The championship was blown wide open at that rate, when championship rival Hamilton had one hell of a handful of a Grand Prix weekend and finished outside of the points. However, Hamilton's teammate, that of Fernando Alonso, came in clutch, making the pass for the lead on Felipe Massa in the closing stages to claim the dub. In Budapest, for the Hungarian Grand Prix, Raikkonen clocked in the fastest lap once again, but it wasn't enough to catch and overtake Hamilton when it came crunch time in the final stages, as Hamilton won in a brilliant lights to flag form. However, considering Raikkonen's runner-up result, he was back into third in the standings, albeit 20 points behind Hamilton, who was already becoming the main favorite for the 2007 world title. As the second half of the season was underway, Raikkonen had plenty of more work to do, and in some cases, needed to hope for a miracle to happen for a shot at the title to stay in contention. Then came the Turkish Grand Prix at Istanbul Park, where Raikkonen was once again the fastest man on the circuit, setting the fastest lap en route to another second place finish behind his teammate Massa, who seized the moment and won the Turkish Grand Prix for the second year in a row. With Massa's win, he regained third place, forcing Raikkonen to drop back into fourth yet again. In Monza, Fernando Alonso was the winner on Ferrari ground, but obviously not in a Ferrari and driving McLaren equipment. His win earned him 10 additional points in the championship, closing the gap to Lewis by just 3 points. As for Raikkonen, he was able to keep it clean and finish behind the two McLaren drivers when it was all said and done. In other words, he settled for third place and moved back into third place in the standings. Spa-Francorchamps, the Ferraris were untouchable, as they led all the way until the checkers flew. Raikkonen led 98% of the Belgian Grand Prix and won from pole position. Considering another 1-2 finish from the Ferrari team, they already sealed the Constructors' Championship in the bag. McLaren would still be leading in the Constructors, but of course, Spygate happened, which is a story for another time. Wet weather comes to strike Mount Fuji during the Japanese Grand Prix, but it didn't slow down Raikkonen nor Lewis Hamilton, given that both finished on the podium. Lewis Hamilton, however, led for most of the race, and won, and got the fastest lap, and from pole position, and increased the gap in the standings. Raikkonen, with the third place result, was down by 17 points heading into the penultimate round in Shanghai. Both Raikkonen and Hamilton started on the front row in the Chinese Grand Prix, battling for the lead for a vast majority of the race. At first, the conditions were damp, but as the race progressed, the track was drying up, and at that moment when the track was drying up, Hamilton slipped twice, which opened the door for Raikkonen to make the move into the lead. He pretty much would stay there until the checkers flew, securing win number 5 of the year and Ferrari's 200th Grand Prix win. He and the team were able to celebrate even more when they realized a chance at a championship was still at reach, given that Hamilton finished outside of the points. We now come to Brazil and Interlagos for the 17th and final round of the 2007 Formula One World Championship. As things stand, heading into the last race of the season, Hamilton still leads in the championship by 4 points ahead of Fernando and 7 points ahead of our main protagonist in this video presentation, that of Kimi Raikkonen. When the lights went out, the Ferraris immediately took charge, while the McLarens ate their dust. Hamilton got the worst end of the stick, making life easier for Alonso and Raikkonen.
It's looking good at the moment. But no, he's slowing. Impossible. That's 4 places lost already. How can this be happening?
During the vast majority of the Grand Prix after Hamilton's slip-up, Massa led for the most part, with Raikkonen close behind, which put Alonso on course for a 3rd consecutive world title. That changed when Raikkonen was in command of the race lead in the final stages of the race, meaning that he had to win the Grand Prix in order to become world champion. And he did just that, crossing the finish line in first while setting the fastest lap in the process. Kimi Raikkonen was crowned as the 2007 Formula One World Champion, becoming the 3rd Finnish driver to win the Formula One World Championship, the last being Mika Häkkinen back in 1999. And just like that, Raikkonen proved his critics wrong by ending off 2007 on a high note, reaching the top of the mountain before Alonso and Hamilton, and both of the two drivers lost by 1 single point. All throughout the season, it wasn't easy for Raikkonen, but in the end, he made his move at the right place at the right time and won the title.
For sure, we were not in the strongest position some points of the season, but we always believe that we can recover, we can do better job than the others, and even with the hard times, everybody was sticking together, and we didn't give up. And it was good because we saw in the end, even from long way behind, we could reduce the gap and go ahead and win the championship in not just construction but also drivers, and I need to thank the team. They did a great job, not just today but all year. Like I said, we had some hard times with some problems, but we always work hard and improve the situation, and I think so we had a perfect teamwork. Felipe helping all the time also, and we had a hard fight with him all year, but then he had unfortunate also not scoring, and he couldn't be in a fight anymore, so he's been a big help also, and I think so all the sponsors been a big bonus for us. The team is very close together. Shell has been doing a great job for us, improving the fuel, everything to help us with all the new regulations. So I'm enjoying. For sure, I'm gonna enjoy today and probably first month. So we see what happens. But I'm very happy.
As the year came to a close, Kimi Raikkonen's 2007 championship season stats look like this: 6 wins, 12 podiums, 3 pole positions, led 213 laps with only 2 DNFs, both of which were mechanical failures. Clocked in the most fastest laps of 6 with an average start of 3.5 and an average finish rate of 4.2. The year 2007 would prove to be Raikkonen's only championship in Formula 1, and the last driver, at the time of this recording, as I mentioned earlier, to win the F1 championship in Ferrari equipment. After that, even though the championship was out of the picture, Kimi was still doing his thing. And he even tried out rally cars, and even NASCAR for a little bit. But nevertheless, Kimi enjoyed his time in Formula 1 not only as a career, but more so a hobby, and hung it up after the conclusion of the 2021 season at the Grand Prix of Abu Dhabi that year, not too long ago. And that concludes today's video presentation. If you've liked what you've seen, click that like button to show this video love and support. If you've really liked what you've seen, click that red button you see on the screen now, so you'll stay updated with more Formula 1 and other motorsport content. And to those who haven't already and are subscribing right now, and to those who are already subscribed but haven't done so, I recommend turning on that bell so the next time when I upload a video, you'll be notified the second it comes out. So until then, I, Turn 4 Productions, signing off the mic as always, and until next time and further notice, peace out, stay safe, and have a good one.
Kimi Raikkonen wins the Brazilian Grand Prix, his first victory here, the 15th of his career, by no doubt the most important. Massa finishes in second place.
Okay, it's all over. It's all over. Hamilton 7. Hamilton 7. By my calculations, we win the championship by 1 point.
And here they are, Kimi Raikkonen.
After one of the greatest comebacks, Raikkonen starts the celebration early. And why not? Ferrari take both the drivers and the constructors titles with 9 wins. 4 of them 1-2 finishes, 9 pole positions and 12 fastest laps. He's the 3rd Finn to become a Formula 1 world champion, and there will be some partying in Sao Paulo tonight.